वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वर गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु महाविद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। Okay. We have everybody admit in. Okay. Let's start with our the chapter 2. Reciting the sloks. Okay, everybody, chapter 2. We'll have Reha and Alia lead the sloks. We all will keep it mute. Only Reha and Alia will unmute theirs and they can see, but everybody has to sing. Okay, it's not that we are not singing. So everybody will sing, but they will lead the sloks, right? So from slok 55 to 72, chapter number 2.
Okay. Do you want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Prajati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atmanyeva Tamanya Tushta Stita Pranastadochate
Sukeshu Vidatasraha Vitaraga Bhayakrota Sitadir Munirachate
Ya sarvatra pishyanas tattat prapya subhashubham nabi nandati navdveshti tasya prana pratishtita
Yada sanharate chayam kurmonyakneva sarvasha indriyanindriyartevyas tasya prana pratishtita
Vishya vinivartane tante nirhasya dihenena rasya vajamnasopyasya param drishtva nivartate
Yatato yapikanteya purushasya vipashchita indriyani pranatini haranti prashavam mana
Tani sarvani samyamya yukta ashte matpara vasyehi yasendriyani tasya prajna pratishtita
Dhyayato vishayan pumsa sankasteshu prajayate sanga sanjayate kama kamat krodho vijayate
Krodhat bhavati samyoha samyohat smrti brahmaha smrti brahma sadbuddhi naso buddhi nasat pranasiti
Ragadvishta viyuktestu vishayanindriyesharam atmavashye videyatma prashadam adhigacchati
Prasatye sarvadukkanam hanir asyopajanyate prasanna chetasahi asyu buddhihi paravrastate
नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य न च युक्तस्य भावना न च भावयत शान्तिर् अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्
Indriyanam hi kartanam yanmanonuvidyate tad asya harati pragnam vayurnavam ivam pasi.
तस्मद्यस्य महाबाहो निगृह्णन्ति सवर्षा इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यस्तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता
Yani sa sarvabhutanam tasyam jagrati samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sani sapasrito mune.
अपूर्यमाणं मशलं प्रतिष्ठा समुद्रमापा प्रविशन्ति यद्वत् तद्वत् कामाय प्रविशन्ति सर्वे स शान्तिमप्नोति न कामकामी
Vihaya kamaya sarvana pumam skarti viyaspara nirmamo nirahakara santem adhikachate.
एष ब्रह्मे स्थितिर्वार्ता येन प्राप्य विमुह्यति स्थित्वा सायम् अन्तिकला ब्रह्मनिर्वाणमृच्छति
Very good, very good. We're going to continue doing that. Anybody who wants to volunteer for next week from online? We're going to have not just one person doing it. We're going to have like couple people doing it together, because one person to sing all, it's a little hard. So we will have couple people doing it, but we're going to continue doing this, right? So next week we'll decide who's going to sing. I will let you guys know. So thank you guys, Reha and Alia, for doing this. Appreciate that. Okay, let's move on to our meditation. So everybody knows the drill by now. Let's take the position. No back, no holding the back on the, no support to the back, right? Sit straight, right? But if you can do crisscross, if you cannot do crisscross, you are sitting on a chair, put your feet down. But sit straight with the backbone straight a little bit, like, you know, your spine should be straight. Okay, and then let's do the sans, the concentration on the breathing first, and then we get into the meditation. Right now, remember, we're going to bring the God image right in the middle, right? So remember that part where in the between the Hridaya Kosha, so it's going to be right in the middle. Okay, so let's start with first breathing exercise. So have both the finger, close your left nostril, put your middle two finger, the first finger and middle finger on the, this is the chakra that is, like, you know, it's the knowledge that we, in Hindu scripture, this is where the knowledge stays, right? So we're going to press there where the knowledge stays. We're going to close our nostril, left nostril, leave the right nostril open, take a deep breath in, close the right one, open the left one, and breathe out. Inhale from the left now and exhale from the right. attention to our mind. Our mind, think about as a big lake. Have yourself sitting right next to the lake and look at the mind outside yourself as a big lake. And the little ripples that are coming in the lake is your thoughts. There are some little, there are some big. Many little different ripples keep coming. Those are all your thoughts that are coming. And as ripple merge in the water, your thoughts are merging and then coming back up. In that lake there is a huge lotus. And on that lotus, we're going to have our Ishtadevta sitting on it. We're going to take that lotus, place it in our heart with the Ishtadevta sitting on it. I'm going to focus on that image. After concentrating on that image, try to see if there is no other thought coming except thinking about that image. No other thought coming in the mind or leaving the mind. Just the image. Sitting in our heart. If possible, try to drop that thought also. At that time, there should be no thoughts coming, nothing to focus on. Okay, you can come out. Okay, guys, I know it's difficult, and one thing I wanted to tell you guys to just, it's a little technical part of it. When we do meditation and we place our deity on a flower and put it in our heart, make sure it's facing outside. Don't put your deity facing inside. So the deity should be facing the same way as we are facing when we put it in our heart. It's just little technicality. I don't know the reason behind it. I need to ask my guru, which I haven't. But that's one thing. The devta should be facing outside. It could be that you are going away from the outside world. I have no clue what's the logic behind it. But the deity should be facing outside. Okay. So anybody know what is today? Anybody knows today? What is the festival? Let me see if anybody else knows. You went to Swadhyaya, you know about it. Anybody else?
No.
Huh?
You know?
No?
I mean, I know, but
What is it?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Guess. It's worth a try.
It's fine.
Okay. Anybody in
I'll do
the?
it today.
Anybody knows there? Somebody is saying something. I cannot hear. Where is the volume? Right there. Did anybody say anything?
Ram Navami?
Ram Navami, yeah. Who said that? Saisha, you said it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, it's Ram Navami, right? Now, does anybody know what Ram Navami is? Anybody is aware of why we celebrate Ram Navami? It's very obvious, but I still want to hear from you guys. What is Ram Navami? Anybody? Every year we actually talk about it a little bit whenever the festival comes. So you should know about it. No, Ram Navami is the day when Ram Bhagwan was born, right? So this is the day when Ram Bhagwan was born, right? Now, like every year, we should touch something about today about Ram Bhagwan to just go back and see, because there is so much to learn out of Ram Bhagwan's life, right? So we should always, every year, we should talk about it. I think this is, a base of our class that we, do this. So we should talk about Ram Bhagwan. So there are so many lessons that we can learn, and we cannot cover that in one class, and it's very hard to cover in even 15-20 minutes of the thing remaining. But I will just touch a little bit, because I don't want to just not talk about Ram Bhagwan on Ram Navami. So many things that we learned, but there are few important things that I want you guys to focus on it today. That what we learn out of Ram Bhagwan's story, right? The Ramayana, everybody knows about Ramayana, right? So anybody can come up with any of the things that you guys learn from Ramayana or Ram Bhagwan's character that you learn out of that character. What does it teaches us? Because Ram Bhagwan, one thing you should understand, that Ram Bhagwan was a normal human being, never showed any miracles or anything that, he was Bhagwan. He is the one who shows that a person who is born as a regular person, normal person, can have these qualities that's going to make them as close as God. Like they can make them God, right? So he is the one who shows all those characteristics and qualities which a normal human beings like us can have it, and we can become we can become very close to God, or we can become like a God, right? Exactly like a God. So that's what Ram Bhagwan shows us. So any qualities that you guys remember from the story, that, hey, this is what I like so much about Ram, or this is what I learned out of the Ram character. Anybody? Come on, in Ramayana, everybody knows Ramayana, right? Anything that you remember that, yes?
He doesn't do anything like wrong.
He did righteousness, right? He is the one who gives he is the epitome of righteousness, we can say that, right? Everything he did was right. So you remember in the initial classes we used to talk about good or pleasure, right? And we have to pick the right thing. What do we pick? Good or pleasure, right? And Ram Bhagwan has the same question asked to him too. And every single time in his life, like his life was not very smooth life, right? He came across so many challenges, but every time he picked good. He never picked the pleasure or the bad part, right? Even, he always gave he always make partners who were good too, right? It was not just him being good, but he always, between Bali and Sugriv, he could have picked either or, right? He could have picked Bali, who was more stronger. He had kingdom, Bali had kingdom, he was stronger, he already fought against Ravan, he knows about Ravan, everything. He won against Ravan before Bali, but instead of Bali, he picked Sugriv, which did not have anything. No kingdom, he was living in the jungle, he didn't have any money, his kingdom was taken away, Bali took away Sugriv's kingdom, but he picked Sugriv. Why? Because Sugriv was righteous, right? So even he could have picked a pleasure over good, which Sugriv was good, but pleasure, he could have picked Bali and fought with Ravan easily and win, and not go through this whole thing where there was no money, no weapons to fight against Ravan, nothing. But he did. He picked Sugriv over Bali, right? So his righteousness that he teaches us, right? That we have to always pick good over pleasure, right? He even if you look at it, his duties that he did, right, was always righteous duty he picked, right? Dharma, he did dharma, he never picked adharma, right? So you can look into his life, like when he has to do certain things, like even I would say that let's say respecting his dad's wishes, right? When his dad says, when Raja Dashrath says that you have to go for 14 hours of exile to jungle, then he took it. He didn't argue about it, right? He took the righteousness, where he respected his dad, he took that, he did his dharma. As a son, what he has to supposed to do, he did that, right? So that teaches us also that when older people or when much wiser people give us the advice, we should take it, right? We should not think about this thing that, would Ram not be smarter? He was smart. He was very intelligent guy. He could have said, Dad, let's do it the other way. Or I will fight with you if you make me go, right? But he didn't do anything. He respectfully did his dharma as his son, as a son, right? Even if you look at the brothers, like he did all the right dharma for his brothers, right? If you look at his, as a husband, as a brother, as a king, all these things, all different roles he played, but he never gave up his righteousness, right? If you look at the whole story. So one thing that we learn out of Ram Bhagwan's story is that we need to be very righteous, no matter how big issues come in our life, how big challenges come at our life. We should never live righteousness, right? At that moment, we feel like, oh, okay, we can do a little bit of this thing. It's an easy shortcut. Let's take this pleasurable shortcut, but we should not, right? The consequences will come no matter what you say, right? If you do right thing, the consequences will be right. If you do wrong thing, the consequences will come. It might take a little while to come in both cases, but it will come. Right. So first thing, righteousness. What else? What else did we learn from Ram Bhagwan's character?
Bravery.
Bravery, yes. Ram Bhagwan is, when we picture him, we feel like most of the picture in Ram is like, okay, he said, okay, I will take this, I will go here, and he looks like a softer guy, right? But if you read his characteristic, he in Valmiki Ramayana, his body is like, the outside physical appearance is described as he was really big and really strong. He had big muscles. His bones are being said as a big muscular guy, tall. He was really muscular guy from physicality, right? So, and if you look at it in Valmiki Ramayana, it has been said that when Ravan and they were fighting, he was the arrow and the bow and the arrow, when he was using it, he was so fast in releasing the bow, and he was doing it at 360 degrees. So nobody could see where the bows were coming from. Like they couldn't see him. He was so fast. So if you look at it, he's not a very soft kind of guy or something. He was very brave, right? And he was very, in Gita, we will learn I think in 10th chapter, Krishna Bhagavan talks about what he is. He's the best of the whole thing. So in that he says, in Shastra Dhari, like the people who are with the weapon, I am Ram. So he actually described that Ram was the best person with the weapons. So he was so brave, right? And he never gave up, though it was very hard to reach to Lanka and fight with Ravana and do everything, but he never gave up, and he was brave enough to make sure that even with no army, nothing, no weapon, he was still ready to fight with such a strong enemy, which was Ravan, with full of army kind, like 5,000 or 10,000 people army. He was ready to fight with that. So brave, definitely. What else? What other characteristic do we learn from? Anybody here, guys?
Would courageous be one?
Yeah, courageous. Yeah, brave, courageous. We will put it in the same bucket. So yeah, right. That it is. Humble. Righteous and humble. I put it together. So humble. Yeah. Think about that. That he was born, and he was till 20 years old when he was raised. He was raised like a prince, and then he was thrown in the jungle, right? But his humbleness as a prince, as a king, or as the person who was wandering in the jungle didn't change, right? His attitude didn't change. He stayed the same as all through his life, with people around him, with people, with even animals, right? Even people who were like, even when he was king, we know that story that a cloth washerman came and talk about something about Sita, and he actually listened to him, took his feedback, and said that Sita has to go back to jungle, right? So he was like, he listened to his little person in his kingdom. Their views were important to him, right? So he was so humble to everybody that he understands everybody's feeling and make sure that he doesn't hurt anybody's feeling, right? What else? Anybody else? Anybody? I would also put loyalty, right? That he was loyal to everybody, but mostly I want to talk about Sita, right? His loyalty towards Sita was big. At that time, there was polygamy, right? His dad had 3 wives. So he could have also, like Sita was gone, and then he could have think about having more wives, and like many times cases came, like he was good looking, he was really, a king, and there are so many times when it came up like, okay, let have this Rajkumari get married to Ram, but he never married to anybody else, right? So his loyalty towards Sita, his love towards Sita, that's it's really you can see that, you know, the whole in Ramayana, the one thing that 14 years that Ram and Sita spent together, his love towards his wife was to a point where, you know, we say that, oh, he went to Lanka from Ayodhya to go to Lanka to, you know, when his wife was taken away, and fight with some, that says a lot. But then also, if you look at it, that when Sita left, he was so sad that a lot of time in Valmiki Ramayana it has been said that he actually passes out in the virha, in the, you know, separation that he had with Sita. He was so sad with the separation of Sita. So the love that he had and the loyalty that he had towards Sita, that's also very admirable, right? Okay, what else that he had? What else? So these qualities, do you think that we can have it too? Are there normal qualities that we can have it too? Why? What we cannot have? Anything that you think, oh, okay, this is what I cannot even do. This is like somebody else's thing, that I cannot do these things. Anybody can think that way? So far, the qualities that we discussed, we can have it too, right? One more, forgiveness. That was one big thing. And I think that's how it says that we should live our life. Like, you know, it's a guidance to how we should live our life, right? Forgiveness. How many times Ram Bhagwan forgave people? How many times? And without any, like, keeping any hard feelings, right? He could have, he forgave his dad, you know, he forgives so many people in his way, like people who did the wrong thing. He did not stood up and said, oh, okay, I'm going to kill this person. Ravan was a different category. Like, you cannot forgive a person like Ravan. But everybody else, he kept forgiving people, right? That who came in the middle.
Forgive Ravan too.
Yeah?
Did he not forgive Ravan too at the end?
At the end, he did, right?
What was Ravan's Vibhishan?
Vibhishan,
He didn't want to bury his brother.
Yeah.
He didn't want to bury Ravan. But Ram Bhagwan went to Vibhishan and said, if you won't, then I'll do it. Because you're like a brother to me, so I'll do it his.
Yeah. And also, if you look at it, Ram Bhagwan sent Lakshman to Ravana at the end of the Yudh when he was dying, that person is so knowledgeable, go earn some knowledge. So Lakshman went and stood next to his head, and he said, oh, Ravana didn't say anything, I was standing there. So he came back and he said, so Ram Bhagwan said to Lakshman, if you want to learn something from somebody, you need to stand towards their feet. So he goes again, Lakshman, and stand towards the feet. And that time, Ravana explained him what mistakes he did, that he says that nobody should do it. There is a whole chapter about it too, that he talks to the Lakshmana. So if you look like that, if you look at his life, you will feel like everything he did was right. He forgave everybody, he moved on, he was humble, he was righteous, he never did the wrong thing. He always took care of everybody around him, right? And the biggest thing that right now also we study in political science, Ram Rajya. How he did the kingdom. How did he arrange the kingdom? How did he do the Rajya in Ayodhya, and how he set up everything? It is the thing that now also we learn in politics, right? How the Ram Rajya was so flawless, right? So that also right now also is a subject. It goes all over the world that study how the Ram Rajya was so good, right? So even if you look at him as a Raja also, as a king also, he did all the dharmas, right? All the right things as a king too, right? When we say that, sometimes the question comes that he loved Sita so much, why did he let her go, right? But the point at that time, his dharma was more important. His personal life his life as a king was more important than his personal life, right? When there was some doubts in his people around the kingdom, so he thought that doubt has to be cleared before, rather than thinking about my Sita, my family, my life. I had to think about the people who is in my Rajya, right? In my kingdom, I need to satisfy their doubts rather than thinking about my life, right? So that's why, so if you look at it, everything he did is to teach us that how the right things, how we should be living our life, right? So in Krishna Bhagwan, Mahabharata, we see a lot of miracles which we say, oh, I cannot do these things, right? But in Ram Bhagwan's story in Ramayana, everything what he did is, there is nothing that we cannot do. We can follow him, and that's where we learn how we should live our life, right? With all these qualities that he had. Good. So let's go. So on Ram Navami, we actually worship Ram, and we do the prayers to the Ram. I think we should start learning some Ram and other Bhagwan shloks too, but as soon as we finish Gita, we will start learning other things too. But at this moment, let's continue with Gita, and let's go to the chapter number 6 that we were doing. So what shloks were we on? Anybody remember from last week? Anybody remember?
27, 28.
28?
Yeah, he did 28. 29. Mother did 29.
I think I was doing the slok where he says that see self in all and all in self, that slok, right? Let me see. Pratihara, we did Pratihara, then we did.
Yeah, sees the self in all beings and all beings in the self.
Yeah, that's the one that we were doing.
29.
So there are two things. See the self in all beings, right? So one thing is see the self in all beings. And the second thing is all beings in self. See all being in self. When I talk about self, it's very confusing for you guys. If I don't talk about self, is like self means I, but here the I is the capital I, right? So we talk about the consciousness. So if you guys want to replace self, if you don't want to get more confused, or you can say here self means capital I, consciousness, right? We are not talking about this body, mind, intellect, object thing. We are talking about the self, the consciousness, right? The subject. So see the self in all beings, right? So then here what he's saying that the consciousness in all beings, right? So all the things that we are seeing, all the objects that we are seeing self in all objects. We're seeing consciousness in all the objects around there, right? So like how in all the jewelry, the gold is there, right? So there is a ring, there is a bracelet, there is a necklace, there is the bangles, but one thing we see in all the jewelry is the gold, right? The gold, if I take the gold away from the jewelry, is the jewelry there? Jewelry is not there. So I see gold in all the jewelry. I see that clay in all different kind of pots, right? The pots are the shape and the form, right? The shape and the form of the things, but then all has clay in it, right? So I see clay in all of it, right? Now, in dream is the best example, right? In the dream, there are people, there is places, there are trees, there are rivers. In the dream, we see everything, right? We see everything. But what is in the dream? It's our mind which is projecting everything. So it's mind everywhere. People are not there, right? But when we are seeing the dream, people are there. Who made the people there? Who brought the people there? Who brought this river there in the dream? Who brought this tree there in the dream? It's what? It's our mind who projected it, right? The dream. So we see, when we wake up and we see that there was nothing, no people were there, no trees were there, then what we will say? The mind was projecting all that thing. So the mind was there, everything. So I see mind in everything in there, in dream, right? So mind made everything. Same as here we see self in all beings, right? So first thing is everything else is consciousness. Now the second part is more important for us. Why? Because then what happened? Then it still separates us from the others, right? In first thing, when I see that I see self in all, then what happens? I'm saying that all are there which has consciousness in it, but I am separate consciousness and there is one consciousness in all, right? So then it becomes a little bit separation again still. But when the second comes, all being in self, when all being in self means in the consciousness, then I am included in it, right? So that's how we need to see. This yogi will see this person. What he says, that this yogi who is observed in this yoga, who is in this samadhi, who is doing the pratihara and samadhi and all these yoga techniques that God gave. So when we reach in this person is, now what happens is, we are constantly in this, not during the meditation. Like last slok we talk about it. It's not just during the meditation. Now in everything we do, we see this, right? So we see self in all beings and all beings in self, right? There is a practical thing that one time, that how people projected these things, right? Now, people can project differently, right? The Churchill, who was the Prime Minister of UK, right? Winston Churchill, right? He was a very good orator, right? He used to speak very well, right? So they said that, hey, how do you speak so well? Like, are you stage, there is no stage fear to you, this and that. So he said that, oh no, I think all the people that are listening to me are dumb, right? And I'm smart, so they listen to me and they will sit there. So this is like a person who is full of ego, who is full of I will respond it, right? The same question was asked to Swami Vivekananda and said that, hey, he was very good orator, right? He used to give lectures and lectures. Like in US, he stayed so many years, 3 years before and then 2 years later. And he did lecture every single day, right? So somebody asked him that, hey, don't you have a stage fear of it? Then he said that, no, I see self in all, right? That's where I feel like what I am saying is, I'm saying to myself, there is no other. There is all me, right? All me in them. So I don't get feared with like, oh, I'm saying to somebody else, right? When you talk in the mirror, when you are in the bathroom, you sing to your loudest voice because nobody is listening, right? You are yourself is listening, right? But the same you, if I put you on the stage and say sing, would you be able to sing? You will not be able to sing. Why? Because then there is other people who are going to be listening to you, right? So then there is a separation comes, right? So Vivekananda Swami said, when I do this first prayer before taking my lecture, before doing my discourse, when I sing that prayer, at that time I start seeing everybody in myself, right? As soon as that feeling comes, what is the fear when I'm talking to myself? right? When I'm singing in the bathroom, what's the fear, right? So that's what this is the practical knowledge that Swami Vivekananda used to use it, right? This shlok was explained by him in this answer, that I am the one who is seeing everybody as myself, right? As consciousness. I am in consciousness and everybody is in consciousness. Then why to fear about this, right? So this makes us fearlessness, brings it, right? So make sure that you guys understand this concept, and when you guys get into this level of, oh, how can I do this? I'm so scared of doing this. Bring this knowledge to yourself and then think about that way, right? It's going to take your fear away, right? One more thing, this is very big thing when it says that all being in the consciousness. This is giving you one more concept, very clear understanding of this concept. What? That when we talk about that you have an Atma, this person has an Atma, this person has the soul and Atma separately, right? That's what we see. But when we talk about it, that consciousness is not in you, you are in the consciousness. When you think that way, then it becomes very clear that how the oneness comes. Oneness can only come by this statement, this one. Here, the oneness is still a little bit lacking. Still duality comes in this statement. But in this statement, oneness comes. Total oneness. Why? Because everything is in one consciousness, right? So whatever you see around, everything in this consciousness, and now think about this as a world, that there is a consciousness and everything is in that consciousness, right? So this gives you a clear picture of oneness. So then it doesn't make me and you separate, right? That makes me and you one, because we all are in this one consciousness, right? Got it? So this is very important shloks to see. Now in this shlok he talks about two characteristics, two states that is very important. One is yoga yuktatma, right? Yoga yuktatma, he talks about it with being in samadhi, which Krishna says that in this he teaches three things to the Arjuna, right? First, when we sit in the samadhi, when we sit in the meditation, what do we think about? First thing is shutting down all the desires, all the senses, right? We shut down everything. We withdraw from outside world, right? Second thing, when Krishna Bhagavan said that. And then we are saying focusing the mind on consciousness, right? So these three things Krishna Bhagavan said to Arjuna. Now you have to this awareness that we absorb in samadhi. That's what he is saying. That like the unflickering flame that God talks about it, right? In some before shloks we talk about it, like it's a diya, the lamp with an unflickering waves flame, that the wind doesn't flicker it, right? It's straight, right? That kind of place. So what he is saying about this, that Brahman alone is at that time, right? So first thing, yoga yuktatma means the person who is sitting in the yoga. But sitting in the yoga means these three qualities there should be there, right? One quality is that the senses is gone, right? The outside, you have withdraw yourself from outside. And then the third thing is you are concentrating on the self, right? The mind, everything slows down, shuts down, and you are only thinking about the consciousness. So these three things are there. That's the person is the yoga yuktatma, right? So that's one stage. Then he talk about sarvatra samadarshana. Sarvatra samadarshana means everything seeing the same, right? Everything, everywhere he is seeing the same. Sarvatra means everywhere. Samadarshana means same, right? So everything he sees the same, right? Now we talk about Ram Bhagwan. One big quality for him is Samadarshana, right? How many challenges did he face? But did he change his behavior or attitude in anything? The success came, the failure came. He was always, his equanimity stayed, right? It doesn't matter for him. He was Samadarshana, Sarvatra Samadarshana. So everywhere you sense the same thing. So time, space, object all appears, yet the person sees the same thing in others. That's the another quality that he says, Krishna Bhagavan says. So the person who is in samadhi all the time, that got these three qualities, right? They are always Samadarshana, means they are giving it doesn't matter to them how the things change, they see it same. Got it? Right? So big part about Ram Bhagwan's character was Samadarshana, right? So that he got this yogi characteristic, Samadarshana. So it says that when we talk about it, that how we can establish in this, Ramakrishna Paramahansa always says, what kind of God is this? Who we close the eyes, he is there, but we open our eyes and God is not there, right? When we are sitting in the meditation, we thinking about God, it's there, right? We can see, we can portray the picture, we can paint the picture, we can put it in our heart. But how about as soon as we open our eyes, God is not there, right? What kind of God this is? That's not what it is. So the yogi, the person who is in this, can see God even open eyes, right? Because he is seeing self in everywhere. Right? So whether it's closed eyes or open eyes, he can he can have this darshan of God every single minute, right? So in Advait Samadhi, which we are talking about, the Samadhi doesn't comes and goes. In yogic Samadhi, when it is like, okay, we are sitting down and we are meditating, it comes and goes, right? It comes, the Samadhi comes, we think about that ultimate, what the picture we put it, where everything drops, there is no thought, nothing, right? At that point, the Samadhi comes in yogic. When we open our eyes, that Samadhi goes away, right? But in our Advait Samadhi, the Samadhi stays forever. Because even if you open your eyes and you're walking, talking, but that Samadhi is still in your mind, right? So that's how it goes. Now let's go to, in chapter 2, we read that shlok, the first 55th shlok that we read. What does Arjuna is asking Krishna Bhagavan? Tell me about that person. How does they talk, they walk, and in Samadhi and without Samadhi? How do they act in Samadhi and how do they act without Samadhi? And here is the answer, right? He says, in Samadhi or not in Samadhi, they behave like this, right? Okay. Let's go to shlok number 30th. How much time we have? Okay, let's start it and then we will complete it next time. But let's do the 30th shlok start. Okay, who's gonna read it? It's an easy one. No, you want to take it?
Yo mam pashyati sarvatra.
Can you be a little louder so they can hear too? We'll start again. 30th for chapter 6.
Yo mam pashyati sarvatra.
Yo mam pashyati sarvatra.
Sarvam cha mayi pashyati.
Sarvam cha mayi pashyati.
Tasyaham na pranashyami.
Tasyaham na pranashyami.
Sacha me na pranashyati.
Sacha nema pranashyati. All together. Yo mam pasyanti sarvatra. Sarva cha mayi pashyati. Tasyaham na pranashyami. Sacha me na pranashyati. Okay. So here yo means who, mam means me, pashyati means sees. Pashyati means sees. Sarvatra means everywhere, right? Now we guys got to know some words, right, of Sanskrit meaning, well, since we started doing the meaning. Sarvam means all, right? Then cha Cha is always end. Mai, in me, right? Pashyati, again pashyati means sees. Then tasya. Tasya means of him. Aham, I. Aham is I. Na means not. Panishyami, that's perish. Sa means he. Again, cha means end. Ma means of me. Na again not. And panishyati means perish. So what does it put together? It's a lot of me, he and sees, right? That's what we read. So it says, he who sees me everywhere and sees all in me, I am not lost to him, nor he is lost to me. Right? So now I want you guys to understand here, lot of people get confused when they talk about Gita who hadn't dig deeper in Gita. One thing, and I had these questions too before, like somebody was reading Gita and they came to me and said, oh, we don't read Gita too much because in that it keep on saying worship me. In this it says who he sees me everywhere, all see all in me. I am not lost to him, nor he is lost to me. So it looks like Krishna Bhagavan is saying, oh, worship me, see me everywhere. But here the difference is the person who has read the second chapter would have understand here me means not Krishna Bhagavan is a body, mind and intellect. Right? The Krishna Bhagavan is not talking about that. Krishna Bhagavan is talking me means the consciousness, the self. Right? He's talking about when you see me everywhere, when you see capital I, when you see that consciousness everywhere, when you see me all in me, like when you see the consciousness all in the consciousness, then what happens? I'm not lost to him and not that person is lost in me, right? So what happens is then you know that this is consciousness. Then there is nothing to be thinking about that something has been lost, right? So we will continue this shloka next week, but very refined shloka. And when you think about as a bhakti, then he is not just Krishna Bhagavan is saying that if you think about this as a Ganpati, then you think about Ganpati as a bhakti, right? That's what he's saying. If you worship me, you are not lost and I'm not lost, right? I'm there for you. So in Bhakti Yoga also it makes sense, but in our what we are talking about Advait, it makes very well sense, right? Okay, let's close it. Vasudeva Sutan Devam Kamshacharanamardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Krishna Arpanamastu. Okay guys, thank you for coming. Take care.